What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RC's Gateway to Comics. Today we are going to be taking a look at a book that is quite possibly one of the best ones that I have seen in the indie comics crowdfunded marketplace. This is the book called Monster MD, and this is put out by Von Klaus, Rise Again Comics. And it tells the story of Dr. Wyatt Black and also his invisible assistant Heidi. Now, Dr. Black is a doctor who takes care of monsters and also other sort of creatures that you would see in like a horror movie. And seeing that side of I guess the medical field, I guess you would say, is something that you don't see ever. I think the closest thing that I would say that would get to that um, would be Dr. Herbert West from Reanimator, and he doesn't even really treat monsters. He's just a mad scientist who is obsessed with resurrecting the dead, and and Von Klaus does a fantastic job with the story of this book and just like pretty much everything with this book. It comes out fantastic. As you can see on the camera, even the cover, it has like specific areas that are glossy and other parts that are what's the term? Not glossy. Let's just go with that. But it pretty much gives you your introduction to Monster MD. Tells you Dr. Black's origin story, how he interacts with his patients, the types of patients that he interacts with, and it's quite fun to take a look at the inside of these pages, and specifically in the group shots of the monsters, seeing which ones you can recognize immediately. I'm trying to find one in particular here that made me laugh whenever I first saw it. Here we are. It's this one. Do you recognize any monster in this couple pages? I know I sure did. Yes, the old internet sensations that always seem to keep popping up. But yeah, there's a bunch of little monster horror Easter eggs in this, and I find it to be quite enjoyable. I'm a big horror nut myself. I even have the collection of Lovecraft stories sitting over here on my shelf, and you've probably seen that in the background for the past couple of videos. And some of my favorite movies are horror movies, specifically like 80s slasher movies. So seeing a different side of horror characters is intriguing to say the least. Now, the story also, it's sort of a way of connecting Wyatt's past with his present day activities, because it builds upon his relationship with his former mentor, as a Professor Hawthorne, and he sort of fits into the story because he is one of the reasons that Wyatt is the way he is. And he sort of, I was going to say inadvertently, but it was definitely part of his doing that Wyatt became the monster doctor. So it's always fun to see that. It's always fun to go back into this book. I've read it several times now, and it's always entertaining. It keeps your interest all the way through, and the interactions that Wyatt has with the other monsters that he's treating, and also his assistant Heidi, it's, how do I put it? He's kind of an asshole, but he's an enjoyable asshole, a likable asshole. And having characters like that, there's times whenever it doesn't work, but this is not one of those times. Wyatt is a character that you want to keep coming back to. He's a character you want to see more of, and you definitely can identify with him because he is stuck in an impossible situation. He can't be an actual doctor for reasons that you'll get into in the story, and is he has this gift for being able to treat all of these supernatural, unearthly creatures, and he's able to make them better. And also, speaking of unseen things, I think that had something to do with it. We also have Heidi, who is Dr. Black's invisible assistant. And it's sort of like a running joke of whether she is, and it says specifically on the back here, is she hot or not? Or hot or what? Is she hot or what? And even with her being invisible, like being able to take an invisible character and give that character personality and actually have them seem like they are still on the page and you can actually see them, being able to do that well it's a skill in and of itself. And being able to do that with Heidi is something that I haven't seen in any comics before, because no one else has had the guts to do an invisible character. And her sort of, yeah, it is a love interest relationship with Dr. Black. It's a slow build, but you know it's there, and it all comes to a crescendo at the end of the story. So it is definitely fun, and seeing them both interact and bicker around with each other, sometimes like an old married couple in a good way, it gives the story a life to it that is honestly unmatched by most of the other comics that I've seen in the indie and slash crowdfunded space. Now, I have gushed about the story for so long. I do want to get into the art behind this because it is done by, the art is by Marco McCagney and the colors are by Tanya Wicker, and I cannot give them enough praises for this art because every panel has action to it, even if it's just characters standing around. There's a flow to it that makes this book seem alive, and it's grim artwork, but it also still has a tiny bit of lightheartedness to it. Like there are gruesome monsters in this that pretty much they have the opportunity to scare the living shit out of you, but they still have an element of I don't want to say softness because it's pretty much repeating what I had just said. They have an element of humanity to them. And being able to have that, like that juxtaposition between humanity and monster, I'm gonna say this again, it is something I have not seen in many books. And having that sort of art in this pushes this to the highest level. So when it comes to Monster MD and pretty much anything, well, when it comes to Monster MD, I am going to give this a final review of a cake level story. It's an absolute pinnacle of what you would want to get from a comic, especially from like a horror comic. And this is what got me following Von Klaus, and pretty much any of the other stories that he's going to do, I am going to follow, because he knows how to write a good story and he values fantastic art. So I cannot recommend this book highly enough. If you have an opportunity to get it, get it. And if you have a chance to back a future campaign of Von Klaus, do it. I can almost guarantee you that you will not be disappointed. So, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like on it. If you have any thoughts on Monster MD, please let me know those down in the comments section below. Also, since we're on the topic of horror stuff, let me know what your favorite horror movie or horror character is. I'm very curious to see what you guys are into. Also, if you would please subscribe to the channel so we can continue to get more eyes on fantastic books like these. The more people that we get subscribed to these, the more people who will see these reviews, and hopefully the more people will be able to build the following of great creators like Von Klaus. Thank you guys all for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video. Peace out.